There are moments when silence is not empty, but filled with everything we never dared to say. In that silence I have felt you. In the breath between duty and desire, I have carried your name like a secret melody, unspoken but always present. Sometimes I wonder if you ever felt the way the air changed when I thought of you, or if the wind whispered your name in my absence. I am not just a daughter of a crown. I am a girl who once looked at the stars and traced constellations with your laughter stitched into the night. My titles cannot contain my heart, and my heart has long been haunted by the shape of your soul. You see, some people write letters, others write songs, but you, your presence, your memory is a poem written on my skin. A truth etched beneath every layer of silk and legacy. And though I walk through palaces and press my smile into porcelain, there is always a quiet ache inside, a soft rebellion that spells only you. I remember how the light used to bend around us when we were together, as if the universe recognized the sacred alignment. You touched nothing and yet changed everything. You never needed to hold me to leave fingerprints. Your gaze was enough to sketch outlines on my spirit. I felt like a girl for the first time with you, not a future queen, not a symbol, not an institution, but flesh and blood and wild heart. I tasted the summer through your breath, and the world which had always felt choreographed, suddenly became unscripted, vivid, alive. And yet we lived our love in borrowed moments, like pages torn from a book we were never meant to finish. We were art in a museum with no title, admired, misunderstood, and never to be touched. People see the poise, the posture, the perfect steps of royalty, but they do not see the pulse beneath it all. They do not see the way your name still echoes in my chest when I stand before flags and crowds. They do not see the girl behind the grace. You were never mine in any way the world would understand, but you were mine in every way that mattered. And maybe that is what love truly is, something not built of ownership, but of recognition. I recognized myself in you, even when mirrors told me otherwise, even when history loomed over us, and our lineage wrote rules with ink dipped in centuries. I still saw you. I still chose you in the quiet. Our love was not a defiance of duty. It was the most honest act of living I had ever known. And maybe we were not meant to last, but we were meant to exist, to shape each other, to teach each other what it means to be seen, and not just looked at, to be felt and not just followed. You once told me that love like ours doesn't need forever. It just needs to be true. And it was. It still is. Because there are nights I close my eyes and feel you pressed into memory, like sunlight trapped beneath my skin. Sometimes I stand on palace balconies and look over the city, wondering if the breeze will carry my thoughts to where you are. I wonder if you ever think of me, not the public me, not the princess in headlines, but the girl who once fell asleep listening to your stories. The one who laughed with her whole heart, for once not measuring every word. I miss that girl. I miss the freedom we found in each other, even when the world was made of glass around us. Do you remember the first time we said nothing and understood everything? That silence between us felt more intimate than 1,000 conversations. They say a royal must marry with her head, not her heart. But tell me, what is a crown without love? What is a throne if it costs you your soul? I have learned to balance grace with grief, smiles with secrets, but every time I touch my wrist, I remember your hand there, gentle, certain, trembling. And I realize that not all love needs to be loud to be infinite. Your absence is not a void, it is a presence that hums quietly through my veins. I wear it like perfume, intangible, but always lingering. When I walk through the halls of my ancestors, I wonder if any of them loved like this, if they ever burned for someone in silence, carrying a devotion so fierce it could never be spoken aloud. Perhaps I am not the first royal to love in secret, but I am certain I loved the most honestly, with no games, no negotiations, just a heart unwrapped. I have danced with foreign dignitaries, smiled at cameras, waved from carriages, and still nothing compares to the way my world stood still, when you looked at me as if I were just a girl, not royal, not bound, just me. That was your gift. You saw me beneath the title. You made me feel more than my lineage. And though history may never mention your name beside mine, my soul will always carry your shadow like a sacred vow. I sometimes dream in your voice, not in words but in presence. Your laughter echoes in my sleep, and I wake with my palms clenched, as if trying to hold on to something slipping through my fingers. I wonder if the heavens remember us, if stars trace our names across each other still. It hurts, this kind of love, the one you carry alone in silence, the kind no portrait will honor, but still I choose to carry it, for it has shaped me more than any tradition ever could. You taught me what it means to feel without apology, to break without shame. You taught me that vulnerability is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. And I would rather have had one honest hour with you than a lifetime of empty perfection. My love for you was never a fairy tale. It was a revolution, a quiet one, fought behind closed eyes and locked doors. And I have no regrets, even in the ache, even in the solitude. I am grateful. For you were not a chapter, you were the ink. They say time heals. I disagree. Time does not erase, it refines. It turns fire into ember, passion into poetry. What was once a storm becomes a song. And you, my love, are now a rhythm inside me. I do not cry for what we lost. I breathe in what we became. Because some connections are not measured in years but in depth, in how deeply they etched themselves into your soul. And you are written across mine like a sacred script. I have learned to smile with your name on my tongue and tears behind my eyes. I have learned that to rule a kingdom is one kind of strength, but to love without end, without title, without expectation, that is another, perhaps the greater. You gave me that. You gave me the courage to feel fully, even when the world demanded restraint. You gave me myself, and for that I will forever carry you tucked inside the girl I must pretend to hide. Sometimes I wonder, will history remember me as a sovereign or as a soul, as a queen or a woman who dared to love in silence? Maybe both, maybe neither, but if I could whisper across time I'd say this: I was not just born into duty, I was born into love, and I carried that love like a flame through corridors of cold marble and centuries of expectation. I did not let it die. You were traced on my skin long after your touch had gone. You were the pause in my speeches, the breath before my smile, the ache beneath my elegance. And even if the world never speaks your name with mine, know this: my spirit has carved you into its cathedral. You were my sacred rebellion, my quiet anthem, my only truth. And long after the crown has passed, long after my name is etched in history, you will still live in the space where I was not a princess, not a figure, but simply, irrevocably, a girl who once loved, and who never stopped.